Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into one of the most famous documents in all of American history, the Emancipation Proclamation.
So you've probably heard about the Emancipation Proclamation, right? And you might think President Lincoln just signed a piece of paper and boom, slavery was over. Everywhere. All at once. But, the real story is, well, it's a lot more complicated. And honestly, it's way more like a clever, strategic move in a giant game of chess.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to think about it in a totally different way. At its heart, the proclamation wasn't just a presidential statement, it was a military role. Lincoln wasn't just acting as president here, he was acting as the commander-in-chief, the head of the army, right in the middle of the Civil War. This was a war move.
And timing? Oh, the timing was everything. This thing didn't just drop out of the sky. Lincoln was smart about it. He waited until the Union had a big win at the Battle of Antietam. Right after that, he laid down the law. He basically told the Southern states, look, you have until the end of the year to come back to the Union. If you don't, I'm declaring all of your enslaved people free. And guess what? They didn't come back. So on January 1st, 1863, it went into effect.
So, what's the big takeaway here? This was a pure tactic, a calculated move. The main goal? To hit the Confederacy right where it hurt. Their ability to keep fighting. Think about it. Their entire economy and war machine ran on the forced labor of enslaved people. By taking that away, Lincoln was trying to cripple their entire war effort from the inside out.
Okay, but here's where it gets really surprising. This is the part that blows a lot of people's minds. The Emancipation Proclamation didn't actually free every enslaved person. Nope, not even close. A whole lot of people were left out. So let's take a look at who wasn't freed.
Right, so this is super important. The rule only freed enslaved people in states that were actively fighting against the Union, the ones in open rebellion. It specifically did not apply to the border states. These were states like Delaware, Kentucky, Maryland, and Missouri. They had slavery, but they were still loyal to the Union. And get this, it also didn't apply to parts of the South that the Union Army had already taken back. Kinda weird, right?
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. It seems totally backward, doesn't it? If Lincoln wanted to end slavery, why on earth would he not free people in the states that were on his own team? What was going on there? What was the logic behind this huge exception?
Well, it all came down to what you'd call a political compromise. Lincoln had to play the long game. He was terrified that if he freed enslaved people in those border states, they'd get furious and flip. They'd switch sides and join the Confederacy, and he just couldn't risk that. I mean, look at Maryland. It completely surrounds Washington, D.C., the capital. And Kentucky was where all the army supplies came through. So keeping those states loyal to the Union team, that was his #1 military priority at that moment. Absolutely critical.
But okay, that's not the whole story. The proclamation had another part to it. A really powerful part. In fact, you could call it a secret weapon that was about to totally change the war.
Here it is. The proclamation made a new rule. For the first time, it was now officially legal for black men to join the Union Army and fight. This was a huge deal, a complete game changer. It opened a door that had been slammed shut for years.
And did they join? Oh yeah, almost 180,000 black men volunteered to fight between 1863 and when the war ended. Just think about that number. That's a massive influx of soldiers for the Union side, and it came at exactly the right time.
So they formed these special units, which were officially called the United States Colored Troops, or the USCT for short. And these men weren't just fighting to win a war, they were fighting for something so much bigger. Many of them joined with this incredible hope that by serving their country, they could earn not just freedom for everyone, but also the full citizenship and respect they had been denied for so long.
And they had champions, too. People like the famous leader Frederick Douglass were out there, passionately encouraging men to sign up. His argument was powerful. This wasn't just about fighting for the Union. It was a way to actively fight for your own future and claim your rights.
And let me tell you, the courage this took was just on another level. You really have to understand the stakes here. If a white Union soldier was captured, okay, he'd be taken as a prisoner of war. But if a black soldier from the USCT was captured, the Confederates might force him back into slavery or just execute him on the spot. The risk for them was astronomically higher. So, let's put it all together. This military rule, the Emancipation Proclamation, it didn't free everyone right away. We've seen that. But its impact, oh, it was massive. It wasn't just a small change, it completely changed the entire purpose and direction of the war.
Okay, so how did it change everything? First,
It totally shifted the meaning of the war. It wasn't just about preserving the Union anymore. Now it was a clear, undeniable fight to end slavery, a fight for human freedom. And that new moral high ground made it almost impossible for countries like Great Britain and France to even think about helping the South. And maybe most importantly, this was the critical step that set the stage for the 13th Amendment, which came a few years later and finally banned slavery everywhere in the U.S. for good.
So, in the end, the Emancipation Proclamation is this incredible example of how a strategic military rule, not some grand, perfect declaration, can completely change a nation. It wasn't a magic wand that freed everyone instantly, but it was the key that unlocked the door. It makes you think, doesn't it? What other rules, what other decisions made for one reason have ended up shaping the course of history in ways no one ever expected?